Hello everyone, this is Gary Bennett at ExcelMe. Welcome to our class number 3 for my free iOS Swift programming courses. Tonight we're going to be talking about chapter 2 in my book. And if you'd like to see the schedule of upcoming classes, just go to excelme.com, click on the free videos, and you'll see the schedule that's coming up. You can also subscribe to the webinars so you can attend live and ask questions at the end of the class. And then also subscribe to my YouTube channel. That way you get notified automatically whenever I post new YouTube videos. And then also if you're interested in my courses, just click here on the courses. You can see them, the schedule, and we go into a lot more information than just the book. We cover a lot more topics spanning the iOS SDK, iPad HomeKit, HealthKit, and web services. So a lot more information there, but I just wanted to make sure that you had that in case you were interested. So tonight we're going to be using playgrounds again to discuss chapter 2, basic data and basic programming. So I'm using Swift here to illustrate how variables work on Swift. So here we have 3 variables. We have a variable that's called string. It's of type, or str. It's of type string. Swift knows when you make an assignment to a variable what type of a variable it is. Some types of variables that you can have, in this case, are a string, which is a string of characters, which are enclosed in double quotes. Here we have I and j. They're both of type integer. And integer is any value, any whole value, non-decimal point, negative or positive. It's an integer. A double is something that would look like this. Okay. It has or a float, it has a decimal point, okay? So this would be a float, meaning that it has a decimal point in it, much higher accuracy and precision. And you see, as soon as I change the type, you see that in the results column here, it changes the type here as well. And so it knows, it infers here K is going to be a type float because we're adding 2 floats together. Okay, now you'll notice if I get rid of the decimal, it's going to get rid of the decimal here. It goes to an integer because it knows the type. Also, you can imply or you can tell exactly what the type should be by doing this type of syntax here. So this is the same thing that we just had, only we are now implicitly declaring that this is of type integer. Okay, j is of type integer. Now if I go, say, to float, something like that, we can see here I have a float and I have another float. But look, okay, the type here has now changed to type float, and K is also of type float. If I do something like this, it's going to squawk at me, telling me, look, you are trying to put a float, the results of 2 floats, into an integer, and that is not going to be allowed. The other thing with Swift that you have to remember is whenever you declare a variable, you have to initialize it in the same line of code. We'll talk about how to get around that a little bit later, but for the most part, you have to, whenever you declare a variable, you have to initialize it. So you see me doing this right here. If I didn't do this, right? And let's change this to type int. Okay, and you're going to see that the compiler just it's not going to allow that. Okay, so you have to declare them as soon as you initialize them. Now, so our basic types that we have are strings, and chapter 2 and 3 go over this in the book. Our strings, floats, double's just a bigger float, and booleans, okay, which are true false, which we'll talk more about in chapter 4 and chapter 5. Okay, now let's just say we had these two as integers. We'll just set I and j equal to 2, equal to 3. And let's say for whatever reason we want to put the results into a float. Okay, so right now it's telling me no, it's not going to allow us to mix the types here. But I could do something like this. And that would allow us. And now we get a float type, a decimal point allowed. And we'll also learn how to use later on as float. It won't work here, but we'll learn how to use as a little bit later on. Okay. All right. So we're in the next class, in class number 4, we're going to be talking about optionals, and that is a new concept in Swift, a very important concept that we need to cover, and we'll be talking about it in our next class, class number 4. For those of you that are attending live, I'm going to stop the YouTube recording right now and post it, and while that's happening, I will ask questions. You can ask questions of me in the GoToWebinar control panel, the question panel, and I'll be happy to ask them on anything in the book or anything regarding Swift. Thanks for attending, everybody, and look forward to seeing you for class number 4. Thanks again.